Right now, public transit agencies are bleeding money with ridership lows never seen before, and the pandemic has almost eliminated rush hour. What is rush hour as we know it? Well, Shauna Hunt with CityNews is taking a look at the future of public transit. Now that a lot of us are working from home, it's a lifestyle that could continue even beyond this vaccine. Shauna, good morning to you. You are at Port Credit this morning. Usually it would be really busy behind you at this time.
Yeah, good morning, Mel. You got it. So normally if you weren't here by 8:30 in the morning, you would be circling this lot, lucky to get a spot. I know that right now that we're in a lockdown, but throughout the summer months when COVID numbers were much lower and more people were going into work, it still looked a lot like this. There were a lot of empty parking lots. So right now, this is a scene across the GTA. Ghost stations are looking like ghost towns. Right now, Metrolinx has billions of dollars in projects underway or about to break ground, even though ridership is down by a jaw-dropping 80%. With vaccines around the corner and more people than ever expected to continue working from home, what does this mean for the future of public transit?
Metrolinx, it's alarming for TTC. We were advocating for the downtown relief line, right? So to ease the congestion on Yonge and Bloor, and that congestion is gone now. Do I agree that ridership will return in a few years? Yes, it will return in a few years because we are a growing city. The question is it going to be next year? And the answer is no. Is it going to be a year or two from down the road? The answer is no. When it will be, I don't know. Going forward, we have to really rationalize our investment in infrastructure. Once you pave over, once you build over, if there's no demand for it, it becomes a white elephant.
So really interesting here. We've had this conversation, Shauna, here with Stephanie Henry, our transit reporter, a traffic reporter. What is rush hour? We try to time it out here when we come in during the day, but when is it busy? It's really hard to predict now.
And that's right, Mel. So patterns are changing. And what we're seeing, those peaks that we once saw in the mornings and in the evenings, those have gone flat. People are now moving more consistently throughout the day. Obviously, once there's a vaccine, lockdowns are lifted, more people will be going back to work, but it's going to look differently. Maybe some people only commute a couple times a week. Maybe some people are going to work from home in the mornings and head out to afternoon meetings. So this is something that Metrolinx and TTC, they're keeping a very close eye on. And I'm told, for instance, Metrolinx is envisioning shorter trains moving more frequently throughout the day to sort of balance out that demand.
That would make sense. But when we look at the money that they're losing right now, these agencies, do you anticipate or do they anticipate a fair hike across the board at all?
Well, I mean, even if a fraction of the workforce continues working from home, the losses would be substantial. The TTC, for instance, almost 2/3 of its operating budget rely on that so-called fare box. So I did ask Metrolinx and TTC, who's going to be paying for this? Are we going to be seeing those substantial fare hikes in the years to come? And what I'm being told is it's just too soon to tell. Right now, it's all going to come down to ridership and how well it rebounds. Now, one thing this pandemic has highlighted is the need for, better transit in the inner city suburbs of Toronto. Right now, it's the bus system that's in highest demand. I'm told that streetcar operators and subway operators, they've been retrained to drive buses to help, with the busyness on the bus system.
Really interesting. And lastly for you, Shauna, when we look at these different projects, if you asked 2 years ago about the Ontario line, yes, we were looking optimistic. We were moving forward with it. But are we going to see a halt in some of these major projects because the money's just not there and the ridership's just not there?
Well, and that's a big question. So this professor I spoke to, he said right now's the time to evaluate and reevaluate what's been going on. Before, we couldn't keep up with demand. Before, we would build things and they would already be full. We just were always playing catch up. Now it might be a different story. So this professor was saying, now's the time to reevaluate, because the last thing you want to do is build something if demand isn't there and it's going to sit empty. But as of now, Go Transit expansion plan, I'm being told it's all systems go. So that's on the big projects like the Eglinton West, Crosstown, the Scarborough Extension, the Ontario line, which was the relief line. It's now sort of taken over the relief line. I'm told that when these projects are being planned, they're looking 50, 60 years into the future, and the growth that we'll be seeing. Of course, Toronto and Ontario, are rapidly growing.
Absolutely. All right. Looking forward to your report, Shauna. Thank you.